We did this.
Yeah,
Welcome,
we
Arsh.
made it.
We made it. Yes. Today is such an exciting day, Arsh. My name is Rupi. I have had this dream vision for so long, and it's finally happening. And you are actually my first host.
Wow. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm very excited, and it's just we've been talking about this for so long, going back and forth, and I know we've had so many conversations just like privately, just you and I, and it just worked out just slowly and surely, right? But here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's great. So what we're doing today is we're having a podcast and having like real conversations of what happens in our community. But before we go there, let's talk a little bit about you, Arsh. Like, so you're from Abbotsford. Tell us a little bit about you.
So yeah, born and raised from Abbotsford. I'm 20 years old,
Okay.
and I'll be turning 21 in October.
Exciting.
I started off as a tool player, as a drummer, right? And I mean, I played soccer for like 4 or 5 years, and just because my dad was a coach, and I got in there, but it wasn't for me. I never really enjoyed it too much. But then I got into Bhangra, right? And it just opened so many doors for me because that's just where I connected. That's just what I felt it was for me. So I did Bhangra, and then I started learning how to play a tool on YouTube. YouTube is the best
No
tool
way.
ever. It's amazing. People are paying like hundreds of dollars for lessons, and I charge that much to teach others now.
Awesome.
But
That's
YouTube,
great.
YouTube taught me how to play a tool, right? And it was awesome. I started learning, and I was 13 years old when I was making like 200 bucks a weekend just playing at events. And I thought I was
Wow.
like top notch.
100%.
Grade eighter, buying pizza for all my friends all the time, right? And it just slowly kept on going. Where then in grade 11, I bought a photo booth company with a 360 as well. And in
Okay.
grade 12, when I got my N, started driving, all my friends had really, really nice cars. And I got my dad's 2002 BMW SUV, right?
Nice.
And it was like, yeah, this is a mom car, but how can I make this nicer to kind of
Yeah.
match the parking lot of our high school?
Yeah.
And so I went on YouTube again, started learning how to buff and paint correction and
Did
cut
not.
polish and waxing and making it look nice, painting the rims, and did all that. While I was doing that, one of my uncle's friends came and he said, Arsh, I have a wedding to go to.
Yeah.
Can you please wash my truck? I'm like, sure. I
Yeah.
did that and he gave me money. I'm like, interesting. I can do this for other people too. So then that's when the detailing business came on. And that's now we started that. And then the last 2, 3 years I've been wedding planning. So it's just, like, I'm not saying if you start doing Bhangra, you'll become a wedding planner.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's just one thing leads to another, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, you just have to be open to trying new things. I
Yeah.
remember the first day I went to Bhangra, I was at a sleepover at my friend's house. And I was supposed to be dropped back off home. But his dad said, hey, this comes first, right? Just you're at the very other end of town. I was in West Abbey then. And hey, can you just like chill with them here for an hour? And I'll go to the bank and then we'll pick all you guys up, I'll drop you off and we'll call it a day. I'm like, sounds good.
Yeah.
Went there, sat down, and the instructor, Parm Beer, lovely. And
Farm.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we started learning from him, right? And we're
world.
still with him, still
Yeah.
together. And he's an awesome guy. He's pushing me. He's like, what's your name? I'm like, my name's Arsh, right?
Yeah.
He's like, come on, try this out. I'm like, no, I'm just here to watch. He's like, no, try it. I'm like, no. He really pushed hard. He convinced me to try it.
That's amazing.
He's like, try for 5 minutes. If you don't like it, just sit down. I'm like, sounds good. Tried it for 5 minutes. I liked it. I did the whole class. And I registered by the end of leaving that class. And I'm like, I want to come back next week. What do I do? Right? So it just all of a sudden worked out. And say if I was very shy and I didn't try that new thing, I don't think I would have got into what I did, right?
Yeah.
So just trying new things and opening so many doors. It was awesome.
And you made such a point. Sometimes just somebody asking you to do something.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, just like, encouraging, supporting, like, just try it. What's the worst going to happen? You don't like it. But I do have to say, you're also a celebrity in Abbotsford.
No, no.
No, you totally are. So we got to talk about that. I know I came to the school with you, and you're like signing autographs.
No,
Like,
those kids are so
so
cute.
precious.
I started working at volunteering at King Traditional
Yeah.
when I want to say grade 9.
Yeah.
Grade 9, right? And I used to volunteer for 2 years. I used to go teach them Bhangra. And like we started the King Traditional Bhangra Club. So basically, I've seen these kids go from kindergarten all the way to grade 5. And then new kids coming and them also graduating. And then I started working with the school district as an instructor, cultural instructor, right? And King Traditional is where I work the most.
Yeah.
And these kids just love it. And they always come to me like, Archie, you're like our older cousin. And you remind me of this cousin. And they're like, we connect with you. And the teachers will say it too. They're like, Arch, we spent every single day with these kids, right? 10 months with these kids, and they will not connect with us or even listen or care for us. But when you come into the room, everyone's just quiet and everyone listens. Like even the kids that we consider not so attentive and they don't pay too much attention, they just go quiet and they listen to you. And I'm like, because the King traditional is a majority population of South Asian kids. So I think they just connect and they want to see a role model. They want to see someone like, hey, he kind of looks like us. He's like our older brother,
Definitely.
like our older cousin, and
Yeah.
he's doing so many cool things. And it's awesome. Working with kids,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Well, I think you touched a couple key points there, like representation, being a male, being Indo-Canadian, all those things play a factor.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that you catch their attention. And you're probably, because you're also being a teacher role, they're not used to that. Like, oh, what's this? You've caught my attention. So that's
Yeah.
great. And, I think we met before that, though. I feel like, when did we first meet?
I was for hospice gala.
Yeah, that was
Well, we
good.
always knew about each other. I always knew about you, school trustee, elected official, saw your signs up everywhere
Yeah,
during the
my friends.
campaign.
My friends were.
But I think properly, when we had a proper conversation, was the hospice gala.
Yeah, and then it felt like it didn't matter where we went, we were always there.
Right.
And I love that. The great thing about this community is like, I feel like once you build a connection with people, like it's always fun to greet them again.
Well,
Right?
100%.
In Abbotsford, it's like, oh, I
Yeah.
saw you again, and how are
Yeah.
you doing? And sort of how we came out today, because you kind of knew about my vision, and I was like, oh, I don't know. And I think it was within that same conversation, I went to go do something. You came back, like, Rupi, you've got to meet Tanner. I'm like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? You met, like,
It was
who's
at
Tanner?
the economic summit.
Yeah.
You and I were just talking.
Yeah.
And one thing I love about you, and that's I think how we started talking.
Yeah.
You're Make It Happen Monday. Talk
Yeah.
about it Tuesday.
Yeah.
What's shaking Wednesday?
What's happening
What's
Wednesday?
happening Wednesday, right? And it's just amazing. I find it so cool because the people, like for example, the latest video I just saw this morning was with Bev.
Yeah.
And I know Bev very well, right? She's amazing. So it's community members that we connect with, that we know, and they share their stories. And there was a video with your trainer, and video with so many people. And I just love the caption, like, Make It Happen Monday, right?
thank
They're
you.
quick, they're sweet, they're short, and it just makes sense, and it
And
works.
that's the point. Is like they're quick and short, but it's sort of like you want to know what's happening next. Like
Yeah,
we talked to you're making it happen. Talk to like, so what's actually happening in the community? Because people ask me all the time, like, what's happening in the community? They want to know because they want to help and they want to support.
yeah.
But sometimes you just don't know where to go, or
No.
you're just inundated with like so much like emails to read and trying to find a website, right? So that's the whole point, is to create that connection, right? So yeah, I'm just so glad we're here. And you talked about school, but I remember at one of our interactions, you had mentioned, I don't even know how we came on the topic. Do you remember? It was talking about when you were a kid.
Oh yes,
Like I don't
do.
even know how that topic came.
I don't know. We've seen each other so many events, and
Yeah.
we just talk, and we end up talking for so long. And I think this just showed up, right? Like that's what I mean, like community representation. So at King
Yeah.
Traditional, when these kids see me, I never had someone like that.
Right.
So I first born West Abbey, grew up Central Abbey, then went to West Abbey again. I'm back in Central Abbey, right?
Yeah.
So when I was Central Abbey, went to Centennial Park Elementary School.
Okay.
And there wasn't a lot of South Asian Indo-Canadian kids, right?
Sorry, like how? So can you go back? How many years is it? Like 5 years ago?
No,
10
this
years
was when
ago?
I was in grade 2 or 3. So this was like a long time ago.
Like 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just good to know that reference, right?
Yeah, 100%.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
About 13, 14
Yeah.
years ago. And I was in grade 2 and 3, and the story how we were, what I was telling you, I loved curry chal as a kid, right? And it would be my thing. Like my mom would be like, "What's wrong with you? I'd eat so much, right?"
Yeah.
And like breakfast, lunch, dinner, all I want was just curry chal. And that's all I'd take to lunch every single day.
Right.
And I'd come home from school, eat that, and dinner I'd eat that. So it was just easy, and I just loved it. It was just for me, it was like my thing as a little kid. Like you have obsessions, you eat something for like a couple months, and then
Absolutely.
you move on, right? So for that time, that was my little obsession, right? And so one day I took it to lunch in school, and I remember other kids they saw, and of course, Indian food is very empowering when it comes to smell and the masalas we use, right? So they're like, "Oh, what are you eating, Arsh?" Right? Like it smells, and I'm like, "Oh, it's curry chop," and they're like, "Oh, well, curry boy," things like
Yeah.
that, right? And of course, everyone was kids, and but at the same time, for me, that was like, "Oh my God, like okay, maybe I shouldn't be eating this stuff in public."
That's awful.
Right? And again, because I was a kid as well.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, hey, it's okay to eat what you like to eat, right? But maybe I thought, hey, maybe this is just to be eaten at home. And in public, I should be eating bagels or burgers or sandwiches or wraps. And so that stuck in my brain as like a 7, 8-year-old kid. And I honestly, let alone eating at school, I just stopped eating at home as well. And I haven't eaten curry chal for like so many years. Like now, like if my mom makes it, like if there's nothing else at home, I'll
Yeah.
have a little bit just to call it a day. Like you have to eat something. But it's not like that anymore. It's not like, oh my God, I'm craving curry chawal. I don't know if it's just something that's stuck in my head
Yeah.
since back then, or what is it. But now it's like if I want to go in public, I should be eating burgers or like wraps.
Right.
Like something that gets drilled into your head as a little kid, right?
And that's hard. Those little experiences are traumatizing, right?
Yeah.
And words matter and actions matter. So like someone saying it to you, someone not stepping in, and you're just at a young age, being in grade 2, you don't even know how to
No.
use the communication to stop.
No.
Especially 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I feel like now the kids are definitely more communicative
Oh,
and can tell you what they're thinking.
100%. No, big
But-
difference now.
Yeah, right.
Like,
But 15 years ago,
yeah.
it wasn't a long time ago, but it was because we were still taught and ingrained to listen to your elders, listen to this, and you don't go against somebody. So I can only imagine how you felt
Yeah.
when that happened. So I'm curious, like, what did you tell your mom? Did you tell your mom what
I
happened?
did. And
Okay.
next day, I'm like, Mom, don't pack me curry chop for lunch. Like, make me like chicken nuggets or a bagel. She was relieved because for her, this kid's been eating it for 2 months every single day. She thought, like, finally, like, the phase is gone. What's
Yeah.
next?
Yeah.
But of course, I didn't say people making fun of me because I didn't want to, right?
Oh, so you didn't even tell her.
No, I've never really communicated things like that with like my mom, parents, right? I'm like, Mom, my man, like, I just don't want curry chop anymore,
And
right?
so, do you feel like you're close to your parents?
I'm very close. My
So
parents have been so supportive in everything I do, right?
Yeah.
And like super, super supportive. But I've just always been, I don't know, I don't like come out like sharing everything always to the family, right? Like there's so much that happens outside, and especially now, like when we're so involved, you meet so many people, so many things. My grandma's amazing storyteller. If something happens in a day, like a 10-second talk with someone, she'll make it into like an hour story.
Of course.
And it's amazing. And I'll sit there, listen to her. But then she'll be like, you tell me something too. I'm like, I don't know how you do it. I just can't do that. Like, I'll tell you, I met this person. This is where I went. But that's about it, right?
Well, and the elders have such great stories because I feel like they find ways to connect to their own stories.
Yeah.
And they have like pockets of wisdom, little nuggets to share with you of like, no, tu ani ka na oka, like, it's just like,
exactly.
you know, whatever. And then sometimes you remember what they say and sometimes you don't, right?
The grandparents are the best. They're so cute.
Yeah.
I mean, you learn so much from them. And I think you learn a lot because you see how things have changed.
Yeah.
Like she's told me how, what she always says when she got married, gold was 100 rupees for 10 ounces, right?
Right?
And-
Gold is so expensive.
And now it's it's very
It's a
very
lot.
expensive,
It's a lot.
and it's so when you see things change and how she told like how telephones were invented and how the first time she talked to somebody and the first time she saw a TV, she always said that first there used to be a radio,
Okay.
and then there was like in the village in the band everyone was talking that now there's going to be this new type of radio where the people that are talking in there we can see them talking.
Wow.
And we used to imagine like what could this be, what would this be, and slowly we saw it. First it was black and white,
Yeah.
and then color came, and then like you had to like go up, and like it was so much little thing, and how just things just progress. Now she's sitting there, she's like, I have a phone in my hand, I have a TV right here, I have this, that, right? But she like just when you listen to their stories and you see like how times have progressed and how like what they've lived through and how they were so content with what they had.
Absolutely.
And now, if I have an iPhone 11, I'm crying to get a 14, right? But how they were content with literally walking so long just to that one phone booth and waiting 2 hours in line just to talk to their person.
Oh,
And apparently that was normal for them. And they were okay with that.
I remember when my parents would call India and they'd be yelling into the phone, right? Yeah, so I'm like, now so you're saying you never told your parents, like, how are your parents going to feel if they watch this podcast to know what you went through?
Again, that time my mom thought like finally like this is the phase is gone. But now she'd be like, well, and for when it comes to like different cultures, backgrounds, and especially my mom, she's she'd be like she'd feel very sad, I think, right?
Yeah.
To notice that. But at the same time she'll be like, well, it's a good thing he moved on because I know she was really annoyed at that. But
Well, it's not easy to make curry chole every day, Arsh.
no, but definitely too. If she looking back at this, and she'll definitely be like, well, hope if he told me, maybe we could have found a different solution, or maybe we could have talked to him. But of course, when Punjabi background, Punjabi language, there was always a language problem, right? Not for my dad. My dad's very fluent in English.
Okay.
But my mom, she's amazing in understanding, and she'll say her thing across. Whatever she needs to put across, she will, right? But it's not like how we're speaking now, right?
Right. Okay.
So even if I did tell her, she wouldn't have understood, and she would be like, "Well, no, that's not how things work.
Yeah.
You can still take it." right? You
Yeah.
can still take your curry jal to lunch if I did tell her that.
And she probably would have pushed you and you'd been like more uncomfortable. Right?
Exactly, because she would understand.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And do you have any siblings?
I have a little brother. He's
Okay.
7 years younger than me.
Okay, so you didn't tell him. So did you tell anybody?
Well, he wasn't even there then, right?
Okay.
He wasn't
So
in
he
this
wasn't born
world
yet.
then. Yeah.
So, but at that time, you just like literally kept it to yourself.
Yeah, I'm like, well, it's just, well, I didn't feel like attacked at a
Okay.
point that, oh my God, people are bullying me or making fun of me. It wasn't to that extent, right? So I
Yeah.
didn't feel that, but I did feel that I was in the wrong for bringing it. That
Right.
maybe I shouldn't be eating like these cultural foods out in public. I just felt like I just blamed myself, like, hey, like maybe these are just to be eaten at home, and I shouldn't be eating them outside.
And that's a big way of thinking when you're in grade 2.
Yeah.
To have those thoughts to
Yeah.
yourself, like, hey, I'm doing something wrong. This is the right way to do it.
Because
Right?
you just see the general, right? And what's everybody eating? Everyone's doing sandwiches or wraps or, like some salads or noodles or whatever
Yeah.
to lunch. But you look at it today, it's a huge difference.
Huge difference.
Right.
You're right. It's a big difference, like 15 years later.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, Arsh, if you had the opportunity, what would you say to your younger self?
To my younger self, what I want to say is it's whatever is around you is not what's cool. It's not what you should try to fit in. At a point that I'm talking about back in high school and back in middle school. Whatever people around you are doing, and if that's what everyone thinks is cool, it's not, because that's already around you. You're already there. You should try stepping out and away and finding other things that you've always dreamt of were cool, and
Right.
try to figure out, hey, how did this person get to that level? How can we meet that person? Stop changing yourself
Yeah.
to try to fit into a certain group, right? A certain atmosphere. Just be yourself and try to find ways that you can connect while still being yourself.
Right.
Right? Don't lose yourself in that process. Because I've seen myself, I've seen so many other kids, they lose themselves, and people who were how they were for so many years, but now just because this certain thing is cool, but that's not them.
Yeah.
But they change themselves completely just to fit into that,
Right.
and just to make it work.
Right.
But then they lose themselves, and you don't want to lose yourself, right?
No, you don't. And I'm just curious, like, how could you have helped your younger self in that moment? What would you do to give him the tools to be successful? What do you think you could have done?
I think that if I was going back, definitely just believe that, hey, you don't, you are what you are, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? That's totally okay. And just find somebody older that can guide you and teach you.
Absolutely.
That's huge. That was huge for me, right? And to have somebody older that's already lived through it, and to find them like, hey, this is what's happening. You understand. Like, for example, my mom would understand.
Right.
Other family members would understand. But maybe somebody older that has already gone through it, like, hey,
Right.
this is what's happening. What do you think? Because you lived through it, right? And experience is the biggest teacher. You
Yeah.
learn the most that you do from experiences than anything else. So if somebody's already experienced it, you can say, hey, this is what's happening. How can you help me? And this can be with any situation, right? But I know kids are struggling right now in high school because just everything's just going, it's crazy right now. And people think that these certain things are cool, that, I don't want to start naming things, but these things are not cool because they don't last that long.
Yeah.
They don't last that long.
Yeah.
But yes, hard work has to play a factor, but there are other things that you can really learn how to teach yourself and communicate with other people and say, like, hey, this is what I want to do. How can you help me? And how can I proceed forward on a right path?
Yeah, and
Right?
I like what you said. You're talking a lot about trust. Who do you trust to have that conversation that's going to help you? Like, hey, this is a situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
What can I do? Right.
100%.
I don't know if you've ever heard of the saying, one negative experience kills 10 positives.
Wow.
Have you heard of that?
I actually haven't, no.
Yeah.
But I totally believe that. 100%. That's actually so true. Now, if I just use that same quote back to when I was in grade 2, 3, all right, taking that same lunch every single day.
Yeah.
But then one day, it was just one day.
Just one. It was only one day.
Yeah, it wasn't a big. I'm telling you, it wasn't too crazy, right? It was just one day. Someone was like, oh, that smells. What are you eating, right? Oh, curry boy, ha ha ha. Called it a day. That's it. It wasn't much. It wasn't much. But that was one negative experience. It was a very small negative experience.
So that means whole
Right.
more meaning for me because
Yeah.
it's true that one negative experience kills 10 positive experiences.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that you shared that experience, which is funny because I still don't understand why we were talking about it.
No, I don't know.
I don't even know how we got
Oh,
there.
I remember. I was saying, because going to King Traditional, right? Lots of Indo-Korean kids. I'm like, Rupi, it's so cool to see these kids bringing their lunches and they're accepting it.
Right.
Everyone's talking about, okay, I brought this parantha, I got this dal, I'm eating this today. And everyone's sharing their lunches. I'm like, okay, this is amazing because I never got this.
Right.
And then I told you, sorry, I'm like, hey,
How did
yeah,
we
yeah,
even get
yeah.
there? And it's funny because I've always wanted to do a podcast. I've always wanted to have a talk
Yeah.
into the community,
Yeah.
but I never knew what I wanted my first conversation to be. So when I met you that day and we are talking, I'm like, yeah, that's my first conversation.
No, that's
Right?
awesome.
And
Yeah.
I was like, and it just sat in my back of my mind. I'm like, okay, the first conversation is about, racism comes in many forms.
Yeah.
But sometimes you don't even know what you're doing.
No, no.
And, it's having those conversations at home and at school, how to make everybody comfortable, individual, and just being mindful of who's in your space.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that could have been dealt with very different. Like if there was a teacher or,
Oh, of
or
course.
someone else in the area.
Yeah.
Oh, what are you eating? Getting excited about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But 15 years ago, it wasn't really talked about.
But teachers help a lot.
Yeah.
I remember in grade 1 and 2, it was Mrs. B. Okay,
Okay.
she was an assistant teacher in the classroom with another kid, but she was always during lunchtime.
Yeah.
And my mom would always make me aloo de parathe,
Yeah.
but make an extra one for her.
Oh, that's so
Because one day
Yeah.
she saw my mom picking me up, and she's like, "Oh, Mr. Kaler, I love what your son brings to school. It smells so good. It smells so. What is it? It smells so good, right?"
Yeah.
And my mom, as much as she could, she tried explaining to her. But then the next day, she's like, "Here, I packed an extra one. Give it to your teacher to try."
Your mom loves you. The fact that she makes you
Oh,
all
she's
this-
amazing. Yeah.
Okay, it's like, I'm coming home. I'm like, did you look?
That's all she talks to me about.
I
If I
love
go
it.
home, Arsh, did you eat something?
That's so
What do you
good.
want to eat?
That's so
We
good.
can eat this. I can eat that. Like that's all her conversation is. What do you want to eat? What did you eat?
But that's part of our language, right?
Yeah,
We're all
yeah.
about the food and
100%.
stuff, right?
So yeah, no, Mrs. B, and then every day she's, my mom would pack an extra one whenever she'd pack me those parathe, right?
Yeah.
Pack an extra one for her, and she'd eat it. But she's like, one day she's like to me, she's like, Arsh, tell your mom that thank you so much, but these are very spicy, and I'm done. I enjoyed them for a few times now,
But now I'm
that's it.
dying.
Yeah, but no,
I'm dying.
that helps, right?
Yeah.
That helps. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. I actually have something for you, so I hope you'll have it with me.
Yes, of course.
So, you know what? You just touched my heart that day because I was like, just to know that I have 3 kids, right?
Yeah.
And just to know you were in grade 2 and you were in a situation that you didn't know what to do,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And it could have went worse,
Of course. Yeah.
right? I mean, you just said to your mom, I don't want them, right? And, racism is still prevalent everywhere, but it's having these conversations and the fact that you saw that other people are bringing their own ethnic dishes to school, there is some sort of shift. And I think that's where the conversation kind of started, right? So I brought you some lunch. So
No way.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
No way. Is it that CC is that curry chop?
So I hope you're gonna eat it with me.
Of course.
And I got it this morning.
Wow. Okay.
From Zykas.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
called Sociopathy
Yeah,
last
yeah,
night.
yeah.
I'm like, look, I kind of need to make this happen, and I was like, can you get this done for me? And he's like, what do you need? I'm like, well, I kind of made it 10 o'clock in the morning, so you and I are going to have some lunch together.
Thank you so much. It actually means so much. You have no idea. It's been easily, I don't even remember the last time I had this, to be
Oh my
honest. with
gosh.
you. I don't
Okay.
remember. And I'm saying this, it's been at least like 2 or 3 years since I've had this.
Seriously?
And that too, I probably had it like once before. Oh my
Well,
God.
Well,
Wow.
we want to kill those negative experiences that you had. So help yourself. Here you
Wow.
go.
You're amazing. You're awesome. Thank you.
We need to kill those experiences because Indian food is amazing,
Yes. Yes.
isn't it?
It honestly is. And everyone should try it. It's,
Everyone
yes,
should
it's,
try it.
yeah.
Yes.
Here,
I'll give you
let me pour you some.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see here. Tanner, have you ever had Indian food before?
I have, yes.
Have you had curry chawal before?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, you're gonna have to try some with us. So here you go.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tanner.
So yeah,
Wow,
your story
okay.
just touched me, and I was like, oh my
This is
god.
huge. I was not expecting this.
Right? And I was telling Tanner, he's
Yeah.
like, do you think he'll eat it? I'm like, I don't know. We'll find out.
No, I definitely will because now I'll learn to accept
Right?
what I can do and what I can and who I am, and that's okay, right?
And it's just realizing, yeah, you had one negative experience. There's a saying that I learned from a counselor, and he said, his name is Eric, and he
Yeah.
used to say, it's okay to have a bad moment and a good day. Right?
That's amazing. Yeah.
Right? And it's something that I instill in my kids too, right? Because sometimes they get like 50 at school.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, just remember, it's okay to have a bad moment and a good day.
A good day. Wow.
Right?
No, this is huge.
You had no idea?
No, of course not. No, this is awesome. I've actually, it's been so long, and my mom will laugh because
laugh?
she makes it all the time.
No.
And I just say I don't want it because I just genuinely, it's not like it's because of, I still remember that moment every day, but I think
Yeah.
it's just been drilled into my head that, oh, like, I just don't like it anymore. But this smells so good.
And it was made fresh for you today at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Well, thank you, Rupi, so much. And thank you to Sushila Zaika for making this happen.
I called. He's like, what do you need? I'm like, well, either I can pick it up tonight.
Yeah.
But it would be really good because if I pick it up last night, I have to reheat it.
I know.
And I'm like, he's like, yeah, I think we can make it happen. Yeah, we
Well,
could do that.
Well, cheers. Thank you so much.
Yours are so good.
It is very good.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. See, lunch with Rupi.
Yeah,
That
right?
should be a podcast.
Lunch
Name
with Rupi.
Lunch with Rupi.
Well, I was doing-
Sometimes coffee with Rupi.
I was calling it breakfast with Rupi for a long time
Okay. Yeah.
because I kept meeting people in the morning.
Yeah.
And someone's like, you should just call it breakfast with Rupi. But then I needed like mugs. I still need mugs. I
Well,
don't
to
know
be
how
honest with
yet.
you, for me, this is breakfast. I'll tell you why. Every morning, I just start working like really early. If it's a couple details or wedding season, if I just run to the wedding, right? And if because we're planning now, so I have to leave the house at 6:30, get the venue by 7:30. We're in Abbotsford. Everything's out in Vancouver, Richmond, right?
Oh, really?
It's been so long that I just don't eat in the mornings at all. It's just my body's used to it now because I always just get up, I drink a couple glasses of water, and I run. And
my goodness.
lunch is usually my first meal. So this is my first meal. And
Really?
It is my first meal because I was,
I have breakfast at 5 in the morning.
yeah.
It's just only been 8 months, whatever. But I started eating earlier in the morning because it's quiet in the house. Take a shower. I make breakfast for myself. Like I have like a huge breakfast and coffee, and
Yeah.
then I'll eat like again like at 10 o'clock. So I
Yeah.
was like, yeah.
No, that's awesome. Because yeah, I have to run to Langley in the morning first. So then I came here and this is my breakfast. Thank
Look
you
at
so
that.
much. It's actually really good.
It is
Like
good, right?
really good. Leave a review on Zyka's page after. Saying thanks to Rupi, you got a 5-star.
Yeah, right. And he's like, for how many? I'm like, well, just 2 people. He's like, just 2 people. I'm like, yes.
Really good. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell my mom I'm pretty chill today.
Tell your mom to make some very chill.
Yeah,
She'll be happy to make it for you.
that's true.
Right?
But yeah, no, this is awesome. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tyra and I weren't sure of your reaction. I'm like, what's the worst he could do? Not eat it?
No, I definitely. Because after, talking about it, and now it feels so right to eat it. Mm-hmm. It feels so right. Like, I can enjoy this, right?
Especially with that one statement, 1 negative kills 10 positives.
Yeah,
And the fact that you said, yeah, it's true. It happened to you once.
That's all. It happened once, and it was a couple lines. And
Yeah.
after that, I didn't believe. I didn't say anything to them because I just thought that I was in the wrong for eating this in public. But no, this is definitely so good. It should be eaten in public. Everyone should smell this, right?
Yeah, right? It's so good.
But yeah, I just saw you donated something to. You were fundraising for the Abbotsford Youth Commission lately with Bev, right?
That was 4 years ago
Okay.
during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I ran a clothing drive, and it happened with socks. It started with socks. And now I think I've donated over, I don't even know, I've lost track, like 20,000 items.
Wow.
I've lost track. But during the pandemic, people needed money. So I didn't know how to give it to them.
Yeah.
So I did this like social media drive, like fundraiser, and I raised, I think it was like $19,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
That's huge.
But the way I did it was unique because I was turning 40. And the year before that, I had done my clothing drive in 4 provinces across Canada at the same date and same time. So
Okay.
all on social media, I asked like, who wants to be a part of my clothing drive? I found people to pick it up. So they had to be like a community champion. So I mailed them the stuff, everything, right? So the plan was, 2020, we'll do 40 cities.
Okay.
So I'm in the works, doing it all. And then March happened. Everything stopped, right? And I was like, okay, so plans are canceled.
Yeah.
And someone's like, people still need money. I was like, what am I going to do? And I was like, I never did anything on live yet, Facebook Live. So I had pre-scheduled 40 people to sign up onto my Facebook Live. Like everybody knew their schedule, like 10 o'clock, 10:05, 10:15, whatever. And they had to say their name. What does community mean to them? And what does $5 mean to them? So the whole purpose is to catch their social network and get them so like, oh, it's a hot dog, it's a Starbucks. So yeah, that's how I raised my money.
That's so
It-
good. like 19,000. Now, when I started getting into fundraising as well, it's easy to say. It's very, very
Oh.
hard to raise.
So hard.
Right? It's super hard. Like last year, we raised 50 for the hospice, the Grief Support Society, right? Because there too, there's so many people that are now in our community that need help of hospice, right? It's that time of need when you just can't give that care at home. You can't. So you need hospice. And when
Yes.
members of our community go there, it's just I didn't want them to feel out of place because that is a place for our community, right? And so our community as a whole, right? And thank you so much for this.
Do you want any more?
I'll take some for
Yeah.
to go for sure.
Take it to your mom. Say, Mom, I'm
Yeah.
ready to hold. Here you go.
I made this myself.
She's like, yeah, right.
But now
Yeah.
our right it's for our community as a whole. But I know when because that stereotype in our community that
Yeah.
you left your parents to this place, but and
It's a huge
hospices,
stigma.
right? Yeah, but it's an amazing place, such an amazing place. So when members of our community go there now, they can say that hey, our I don't enjoy like a salad or like a sandwich. Can I get some curry? I'm just finding a place for them to go get curry.
And it goes back to this, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they had like one bad experience.
100%. No, things just work out so well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, thanks for doing this with me.
No, thank you. This was
So good.
so awesome. It was more than just a podcast. Just I got a whole meal
Right?
with this,
I
right?
fed you. I fed you in the process, and I love food. I love
Everyone send your applications to
I will
meet
feed
with
you. I will
Rupi.
feed you. I'm like, what should we eat today? But you know, in our culture, food is huge.
Very big.
Food is all about bringing the community, the connection. I think anytime I've done an event, I've always had food. And there was this one volunteer. I had asked her, I'm like, you always come to my events. Like, why is that? She's like, you always feed me.
That's easy.
I'm like, really? I'm like,
Yeah.
that was her biggest thing. She's like, Rupi, you always feed us. I'm like, yeah, well, because to me, it's important. You have your
Yeah,
team, right?
yeah.
Like, if I don't take care of my team,
100%.
like, they're not going to come back, and I need them to come back.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for joining us, Arsh.
No, thank you. This was awesome.
Any last words before we sign off here?
I just think that what you're doing here is amazing. You may
thank you.
think this is small, Rupi, but it's really not.
Oh,
Right? Make it happen Monday, talk about it Tuesday. Goes such a long way because, and you post in the morning, so you wake up. That's
Yes.
usually the first thing people see. And it's like motivation to start the day off. Like, hey, there's these two people, Rupi's connecting with so many people, trying to do good and just talking about experiences. And it just helps like bring our community together. It helps motivate everybody. And this is so big because Abbotsford is a small town, yes, but it's so big because people have enormous hearts here in Abbotsford. People want to give, people want to do good, and you give that reason to them that hey, you can do good here and you can help here, and it's awesome.
And there's 80 languages spoken in Abbotsford. Do you know that?
I didn't know that. Wow. Okay.
That's a lot of
80.
languages, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of language.
Yeah. So no, you know what? It's all about creating that conversation and just finding like-minded people of like to connect and make that positive difference. Not just add a difference,
100%.
but a positive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This was very, very perfect.
We're signing off. Stay tuned.